Okay, if you were with me in the last two videos, we have now made it to the payoff where we actually learn how to write requests using Python. If you just skip to this section, or if you skip to this video, hello, let's see how we make requests from Python. So there's a module for this. There's actually a lot of modules that can do this, a lot of different packages. The most popular one though is called requests with an S. So simple enough. And here's the documentation for it. You can see it has, on GitHub alone, almost 30,000 people have started, and way more people have used it, probably in the hundreds of thousands, if not millions. And the first thing we need to do before we can actually make those HTTP requests from Python is to install the package. So it's called requests, and from my terminal, I'll run python 3-m pip install, make sure I spell it correctly, requests. And I actually deliberately didn't install this one. I uninstalled it so that you could see what happens. This is what you should see when you install it, rather than in the past, the other two modules or packages I've shown, it just says, hey, you already installed this. So now we've installed it, and I'll just start by opening up Python 3 and doing it from the command line. And I'll import requests, just like that. And all we have to do to actually make a request is use a method called get or post for the two types of requests. And we're going to focus on get requests for now. So it's requests, the name of the package, dot get. And then the URL I want to get. I don't know if you can hear my cat. She's going nuts. And we pass in a URL. So this is a web page called Hacker News. The URL is news.ycombinator.com. If you haven't seen it, it's sort of just tech startup news with a technical and programming slant on it. When I just enter this URL and I hit enter, I'm making a GET request to that URL. We can do the same thing from our code. So I'll copy the URL and just paste it here, requests.get this URL. It's going to do the exact same thing and ask for DNS lookup, get the right IP address, send a request, a GET request, because that's what this URL is, and then it should come back with some sort of response. And what we want to do is capture that response in a variable. So I'll just call it response. This is up to us. We could call it res. Maybe I'll do that. And if we look at res, you can see that all that we actually see right now is that there's a status code 200, but there's a couple of things I'll show you. So res.ok is going to be a Boolean value, true or false. And so this request is okay. We can look at our response.headers. So this includes all the metadata that came back, things like the date and the time, the character encoding. What else do we have? The domain, just a bunch of things. It doesn't really matter at this point what's in there, but I just want to show you that you can see the headers. But most importantly, we can see response or res.text. And this is the main part of the response that comes back. It's a giant thing of HTML. So this is not an API that we send a request to. This is made for human eyes. But this is the same thing we get back if we actually view the source of this page. As you can see here, this is what we got back in our terminal. It's just that our terminal doesn't know how to display it, all this HTML. This is made for a browser. So it would be better to request an API. But I just wanted to show you that's all it takes to send a request. Requests.get and then a URL. And we sent our first GET request. So now let's go quit out of here and let's put this in a file. So I'll make a new file and I'll just call it first request.py. So let's start by importing requests again. And then let's make our second request, I guess, requests.get, and save the response to a variable. I'll call it response this time. It could be res, it could be r, but response is good. And then what I'm going to do is send a request to http://www.google.com. And I'll show you what happens if we leave off the HTTP stuff in just a moment. Let's save this to a variable though, as a string. Oops, I didn't copy the quotes. And then pass it in here. So I have a variable called URL, and this way I can just change the URL up here. And if we use that URL anywhere else, it will be changed everywhere. So down here, I'm going to start by just doing a print with an F string. After the response, we'll say your request to, and then we'll put in URL, and then let's do the status code. Came back with status code, and then the way that we get the status code is response.status_code. Okay, so this is just the way that we access the status code. So let's see if it works. It might take a moment. It says your request to http www.google.com came back with status code 200, meaning it worked. And just to show you, if I change the URL to something that doesn't exist, like that, Google is, we did this earlier in this section when I tried to request, I got a 400 or a 404. Let's see, there we go. I get a 404. So the request is sent to Google, and then Google is like, I don't know what you're asking for with this /ASDAS blah, blah, blah. I'm going to send you a page or a response that says page not found. So that's the first most basic thing that we can do. I'm going to change this back to just google.com, and I'm going to leave it at this. If I do remove the HTTP part and I try and make this request again, I get an error now, and it says invalid URL, www.google.com, no schema supplied. It needs to know what protocol we're using. And everything we're doing is with HTTP. And so it suggests perhaps you meant HTTP. So we do need that part. So I'll leave that in here. So far, we've done nothing with an API. Everything that we've been doing, all the requests we've sent have been to just plain old URLs that are intended for humans that send back HTML. And in fact, if we do a print and we do response.text, when we send a request, to Google, we're going to get a bunch of HTML back. It's going to look insane. There we go. It takes a while to print it all. This is the actual response, a bunch of HTML and JavaScript made for the browser. So what we're going to do in the next video is see how we can interact with an API and get data in a different format that is much easier to work with, that we can just take and turn into a dictionary or into a Python list, and then we're ready to go and we can do something with it. This is just a mess. Okay, but we have made our first requests using requests, the module, .get. There we go.